But this is definitely going to be another one of those real talk videos. I don't have a prepared script in front of me. There's no fancy graphics to guide me over my shoulder like there normally are. I do have an outline of things that I'll try and get to here in this video because I don't want to come across totally disorganized and rambling. But I want to share a little bit more about the announcement I made last week and how my personal life and my career are greatly about to change because my time at NBC Sports after 16 years is soon coming to an end. And you probably saw that announcement video, which was debuted here on YouTube. I recorded it just a couple days before I released it, but I had the script prepared for it like weeks ago. I wrote out what I wanted to say. I went over it. I thought about it. Some days I just put it away, couldn't even look at it. And yeah, I knew for quite some time that this news had to come out. I'll give you a little bit more detail on the timeline and what you may not have known about that in just a second, but it was not my plan to come in here and read the script and break down, although what I wrote, quite honestly, I thought that was a potential. I wasn't going to make it happen, but I also wasn't going to stop it from happening if I needed a moment and I couldn't get through the video in one take. Turns out I hit record, I went right after it, I did the video in one take, and you saw it as I initially intended it. So there you go. I was a little bit surprised that based on the announcement and how difficult it was that I actually didn't break down in that video. But to be quite honest with you, and some of the things that have happened since then to now, I wouldn't be surprised if I broke down later in this video with some of the things I also want to get off my chest. So let me go back and just talk about the timeline. I had known about this news for quite some time when it was given to me that I would not be coming back to the network, and it was really difficult to hold that in for a certain amount of time. Of course, my immediate family knew, direct coworkers knew, other people that had to know, I tried to inform them as soon as possible. But from a public perspective, it just wasn't the right time or place. There were some things behind the scenes that had to get taken care of, and ultimately, when that time and place was right, that's when I decided to deliver the news. But hanging on to it and holding on to it and feeling like I was keeping a secret, that just did not feel good. Obviously, last week, by the time I was prepared to let this out, it had sunk in with me. But what was interesting was to see the initial raw reaction and probably how my reaction was when I found out. But the initial raw reaction of everybody else who is also finding this out for the very first time, their honest and true feelings, which, by the way, the sentiments and the things that were said about me and to me, oh my gosh, like we'll get to that in a second. I need to build up to that and prepare myself for that in just a second. But it was also weird to be covered like in the newspaper. Usually I'm the one who's the media talking about other people, or the fact that I was trending on Twitter for a while, or the fact that I was a subject of a hockey guy video. Like the hockey guy had me on his whiteboard as he was talking about NHL news of the day. Shannon, I really appreciate you, and I definitely will take you up on that offer to come back here on the YouTube channel. But you know what I'm saying? It was very weird to be the one covered instead of the one covering stories and such. And it was also kind of weird and cool all at the same time that two people I greatly look up to and I'm huge fans of, Bob Melvin, Matt Chapman, the same day I was making my announcement that morning, they were at a press conference in San Francisco to announce a 6-year contract extension for Matt Chapman. So opposite sides of the feel good, feel bad sphere, but I was so happy for them. And it was just kind of weird that all of this was happening on a day that just kind of came together like that. I was super nervous to sit down at some point like I did and record that announcement video. I was also super nervous to release that. And like I said, I had the statement prepared for a while, so I knew exactly what I was going to say, but actually looking into the camera and reading those words and feeling those thoughts, you just feel super vulnerable in that moment and at that time. Making and sending that video out, publishing it, like I said, it was not easy. I did not like being the center of this type of attention. And granted, I, again, appreciate the overwhelming positive response, and I'll talk about that at the end here, but it's not something you want to put yourself in, the position you want to put yourself in, kind of knowing how it's probably going to play out. But to be honest, for as much as I didn't look forward to this, and I felt like it was something I had already been kind of dragging on and had to ultimately just finally, go forward and do it, it really set me free to let that out there and to finally stop holding it inside and to let everybody else know and be on the same page and trying not to avoid certain conversations with fans or friends who had no clue and I'm just trying to move on or move away from it or move around it. It just felt really good that I didn't have to be one of the only ones to know exactly what was going on. And I'll also say here that it's amazing how quickly that news and that message spread from people that, of course, I know and are around me, kind of in my circle, to people that I had no clue were even paying attention to me or something like that, or that they would even care or take the time to send a message or respond to me. People inside and outside my social circle, if that's what we call it. It's just the amazing power of social media. On some level, it's like mind-blowing because you're like, wow, that news traveled fast and to so many different people that I wouldn't have expected it. But on the same note, it's probably not surprising because that's how a lot of people get their news these days, via phone, via YouTube, X, Instagram, Facebook, you name it. I was overwhelmed by the response and the list of names and people and faces and figures who showed up for me. Calls and text messages and posts and platforms and Reddit and Twitter and Facebook and my text messages and emails, and I don't even do LinkedIn, but LinkedIn, it meant so much to me. And to feel in a moment where you're very just vulnerable. It's almost like everybody's running in this half marathon together. I'll never do a real marathon, so I'll say half marathon. I've done one of those. It's almost like everybody's running the half marathon and I pulled a hammy or I blew a knee out and I'm limping on the ground. And it's clear that I'm done. And it's almost like people coming over to help you, and to just make sure you're okay. Hey, pat you on the back. Even if they pat you on the back and continue the race, they just want to make sure you're okay. Some people stay with you for a while. One person's going to be there and they're stopped running the race until you're in the back of an ambulance or whatever on a stretcher. My point is how people stopped what they were doing and to some degree just checked in. They showed up. They were there for me. People who I couldn't have even expected, athletes, coaches, past and present, front office members, past and present, baseball teams, hockey teams, broadcasters, people across the sports landscape, people who didn't even have my number, but were friends of friends that reached out and said, can you put me in touch with Brody? It just meant so much. And look, to some degree, I expected a level of this just after being around for so long, but the amount of people and the way that things were put and the things that people said, I was on the verge of this all day long. All day long. And it was also, I'll say this as one last thing. It was also special for a lot of people who recalled my journey. And some people who said, I grew up watching Sharks and this makes me feel old, but my first season of being a Sharks fan was 2010 and you had just joined the broadcast a year earlier. Or some people who said, I remember you covered my high school football team on High School Sports Focus back in the day. And for people to again, show up like that and take it all the way back, and it meant so much to me. And I'm humbled by the response, the people, what they said. Again, I don't want to elaborate too much, but I do want it to come across how that touched me like few things in life before. And I tried to get through all the comments. I tried to respond to as many as I could. I know I'm still faulty that I'm still getting back to people. I saw petitions. I saw tweets. I saw DMs, Instagram, Facebook. I expected at some point that the haters would show up. I expected that there would be inevitably 1 or 2 or 5 or 50 or whatever people who said, good, finally, get rid of this guy. That might have been out there, but I didn't even see that. Which, even if you're somebody who doesn't agree with my positions and perspectives or whatever. I'm not your cup of tea. That's fine. I'm just blown away that those people didn't even take the chance to kick somebody while they were down. So anyway, now the attention of all that, I'm kind of in a way, kind of in a way glad that we're past it. We all get to move on now. I will share this. A head coach in the NHL texted me and said, among other things, change can be exciting. And those 4 words, change can be exciting, that made me really think and realize, because that person's been through a lot of change in their life professionally. And it got me to thinking, maybe that's my new perspective on all this. I'm a loyal person. I like to stick around. I like to stay in things, but change can be exciting. And I don't know what type of change lies ahead, but change to some degree can definitely be exciting. I'm not a person maybe who does the best with change. I don't think anybody is that way, but I just thought that was an interesting way to put it. So at this point, the grind continues. I try and figure out what's next for me and my family and my career. I'm already on the case. Hoping something works out. And the real thing is for me just to figure out and land whatever's next. And obviously I'll keep you updated, but that's where I stand right now. Truly humbled, truly appreciative. I just thank all of you so much for being there for me. As promised, that was a little bit of behind the scenes of what happened. And I'll keep you posted on all the developments that come my way. Talk to you next time.